need you to understand that makes impact mentoring different is that this is an interdisciplinary program. So for me, this isn't just about using you as tools to improve retention. I want you to understand that mentoring has 3,000 years of history as a best practice to bring out the best in people. And I want you to see how complex it is. The reason I want you to see that is because when you write this as an example on your resume, as a job you had, and all you write is, I was a mentor and I helped people, you are diminishing the scope of the work you did because you are going to be doing education. You're going to be involving psychology. You're going to be demonstrating communication skills, management skills, coping skills. So for you to understand that this isn't just like me being, the proverbial hard ass and asking you to make this job more complicated. I know for a fact, and so does Fatima, that because we put so much expectation and intention on you to do this well, you are going to move in the world much better prepared to do many other things than other people who are just randomly sitting around helping people with their homework. Some people do just need to be helped with their homework, but that's not what this is, okay? So I want you to understand, like mentoring starts from ancient Greece. That's how far back this goes, right? Starts with people like Aristotle and the Iliad and the Odyssey and Homer describing that, those who are the mentors of young heroes is a phrase that he coined. He uses the word mentors to teach and coach and guide. And that's really what we do. Sometimes we're more coaches, sometimes we're more guides, sometimes we're teachers. And you've got to be able to pivot to bring out the best in someone. It could be in an apprenticeship kind of a formation. It could just be a personal support thing. It could be you're teaching someone how to cope better and navigate their worlds. But it all starts from ancient philosophy, right? And then Homer was an influence on Aristotle and Socrates. He was an influence on Socrates, and Socrates influenced Aristotle, and Aristotle influenced Plato, or Plato influenced Aristotle, I forget the order. But there's a long line of these people, and today what we're left with is famous sayings that are credited to these men who are at the very beginning of mentoring. So when someone's quote that they're best known by is knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, by this guy who was alive like 4,000 plus years ago, 6,000 plus years ago, sorry, because this is before Common Era. He learned that because he was mentored by Socrates, Plato. That's how good Plato was. He was OG good. Or if you have someone that says, know thyself, that's his wisdom that he laid on these guys. That's all he said, 2 words, know thyself. And that changed everything. And then those, oh my God. And then they opened up other people. Someone else, I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only make them think. So these are the words of the ancients that come down on this train track of mentoring. It is part of our tradition. So when we talk about inspiring quotes and what makes people motivated to learn, knowing yourself is where it all begins, right? Be as you wish to be seen, right? So we want to become what we hope others will see in us, okay? I talked about this, right? Obviously, it's all about these guys, philosophy. Aristotle took it another step farther. Aristotle was the guy who realized that the best way for people to learn is by doing. And that's the reality of impact mentoring. We're going to lay all this knowledge on you for the next 6 days. You can't possibly learn it all. And you're not going to remember it all. You just can't. But what we are going to help you do is learn how to find stuff. Learn to be comfortable not knowing. Learn how to problem solve. Because you're going to have to learn to mentor by doing. Many other programs are going to give you a script. This is what you do in week 1. Here it is. Go through this, boom, boom, boom. You've done your job. And that's great. And for people who need structure, it's very helpful. But I can't tell you that I'm working with someone who wants to learn how to work their resume. I may have a job already. I don't know how to do my resume right now. I'm failing math. I want to get a scholarship. My boyfriend just broke up with me, or whatever is going on, right? The agenda we set for someone else, in my opinion, disrespects the fact that they're the customer, right? They used to have this whole thing about personal shopping, where someone else would pick out the clothes you buy. Some people, I remember some people were like, you're gonna tell me what I'm gonna buy? I'm here to tell you what I want to buy, right? So we want to learn and impact to be responsive and to ask the questions, what does this person need from me? How can I meet that need, right? So we want to learn about being aware of how we're learning, being aware that we're going to be experiencing as we're learning. That's really important for you to know. And some of you may live in a constant state of anxiety because you're not sure if you're doing a good job or not. So even Narisha, I'm going to call that Narisha now because Paulo already told me I called her too many times. Narisha isn't sure she's a good mentor. Do you want to know why? Not one of her mentees got back to her all fall semester. Not one. Nobody. And she's not the only one. But I'm making her laugh now because someone in that situation, of course, they're like, do I smell? Am I horrible? Am I the worst? But like, you're going to tell yourself all kinds of craziness because you have no information, right? So if you don't know who you are and what you have to offer, that is an unbearable state of being. So my job and Christina's job is to teach you to be okay with what you have to offer and that you know what you need to know. And that if you can't solve someone's problem, you at least can sort of be okay with not being the savior of that moment, okay? And that's why we're spending time talking about this. You're gonna have mentees who may say, I'm living in a household where I get beat up by my spouse all the time. Or, you know, I'm homeless right now. Or, you know, my father is addicted to drugs or whatever. Everyone's unemployed. They're gonna lay stuff on you because of that trust thing that we talked about, right? And you're like, oh my God, like in your heart, it's gonna hurt because what do I do? What do I do? How do I help? You can help that. You can make referrals. You can hear them. You can be supportive, but we can't solve every problem and make it better for everybody. So the job is for you to be okay with understanding, okay, this is what's going on. What does this person need from me? And thinking about it. That's what metacognition is, learning how you learn. So you need to be in a state of being where you can be responsive to whatever the mentees are going to bring to you and think about that. And that also goes back to these mission facts, right? The cycle of experiential learning is that, especially for those of you that are new, probably until March, you're going to feel like you have no idea what's going on. I'm just flat out like you. You're going to be like, wait a minute, I don't even know what's happening. Like, should I call them back? I called them 3 times, they didn't get back to me. Should I call them again? Should I email them now? What do I do? You're constantly going to feel anxious, right? So you have to think of what you're going to do, then you try it, then you reflect on it, then you redefine it. Okay, so that's the cycle. We're going to constantly be trying things, seeing if they work, how'd that go, try something else. Okay, that's called experiential learning. Okay, I'm going to skip this part, but it's important that you realize that's the foundation of our program, right? Mentoring is a synergistic relationship. What that means is that you're not just a mentor with all the answers to those at all. You're being mentored in this program. We learn from each other. I'm going to give you a short break really soon, but the 3 most important things that I need you to understand about mentoring for impact is that there are 3 main components. We want it to be developmental, meaning that you're coming from different levels of knowledge or life experience or profession, right? It's experiential, meaning that it is not a state of being, it is a process you engage in. It is mutual, it is relational. And it is interdisciplinary, meaning that it's a little of everything. Yes, you're going to give career advice. Yes, you might have to do some academic support. Yes, people are going to feel things with you. If all you're worried about is, can I help you get a 4.0? And your mentee cries, and you're dying inside because you're like, oh my God, somebody's crying. You got to get over that because somebody might need to have a cry. It's okay. And likewise, if you're a nursing student and you got a million mentees who want to be in the nursing program, they're like, then help me pass organic chemistry. I need to get into the nursing program. Well, that's great, except he barely passed it himself and he's good in bio. That's not his subject. He can't help you. So you can't be all things to all people. You have to realize that your skills are yours. And we each have different levels of knowledge and domains that we're good in. But that's why we want to strengthen our relationships. They might say, look, I know I'm in the nursing program, I'm happy to help you, but you know who's really good at orgo? I am. Is really good at orgo. I'd say Paulo, but he was in my bio class. We're both like crying over that testing. He would be a good guy, whatever. But you know someone who is. Oh, you want to be an ASAP? I'm not an ASAP, but I know Alana's an ASAP, or I know whatever. So you know about each other makes for more knowledge that you can share. Okay.
I often think back to the important relationships I've had in my life. Specifically, I'm talking about those mentors who have helped me along my journey. Many of you in this room may know the relationship I'm talking about. I am a proud first-generation college student who navigated a new college language and environment entirely and almost all on my own. It was lonely and isolating at times. I didn't know what I didn't know until Susan. Susan was that person for me. She was my supervisor as part of a learning community program I was a part of at my undergraduate institutions. More importantly, she was my mentor. It might have been the cultural connection we shared, or our love for Frida Kahlo, or perhaps it was that the first time somebody at the institution I was at took an interest in me and in my success. She was, in every depiction of the word, a mentor. She contacted me. She made sure I was being academically successful. And more importantly, she followed through. Looking back, I often reflect and ask myself, was I a good mentee? Did I demonstrate good mentorability in a relationship that is still very strong today? So I want to start off by asking you these questions. When was the last time you were in a mentoring relationship? What was the experience like? Did you know what to expect? Did you know how to engage in that partnership? And did you understand your role and responsibility as a mentee? Chances are that entering into that developmental relationship, you may have perceived it to be one-directional. You know, the traditional way of what we think a mentoring relationship is supposed to do. At the end of the day, the mentor is supposed to provide knowledge down to the mentee and helping them become a successful protege. And yes, that's what mentoring relationships are intended to do, but it's so much more than that. To fast forward about 15 years, I was at the Texas Mentoring Summit Conference in San Antonio when I first heard Dr. Rich Reddick mention the term mentorability. I had never heard the term before. In my many years of working with mentoring, I had never heard it used in this context, and it changed the narrative of how I saw mentoring partnerships. It put the ownership and the emphasis back on the mentee. And that's what mentorability is all about. By definition, the term mentorability is the ability to engage in mutually beneficial and rewarding developmental relationships. When we think about mentoring, we think about malleable mindsets and changing and inspiring the lives of others. But how many times do we shift that mindset and think, how mentorable are we? That we are engaging and being receptive to somebody else who's more experienced, and that reciprocity is a decisive contributor to that partnership. As Reddick described mentorability, I sat back in my chair and thought, gosh, could it really be that simple? Are we really missing the mark in how we engage in mentoring partnerships? Are we not doing a good job of preparing mentees for the onset of the partnership? So I did what everybody does when they don't understand the term. I went home and I Googled it. To my surprise, Google search yielded very little results. And even today, when I type mentorability into Microsoft Word, there's a red squiggly line indicating that the word is not a word. So I left intrigued. I was inspired at this point. So I started doing a research with a colleague of mine, Zachary Taylor, and our first study examined 187 mentoring programs at all four-year public institutions in Texas. We found that mentoring programs were 4 times more likely to address the roles and responsibilities of the mentor than they were the mentee. After our data analysis, I thought, wow, considering that most mentoring programs rely heavily on the mentee's development as a programmatic outcome, we're not doing a really good job of preparing mentees for that partnership. We're not telling them what to expect. We're not sharing the message on mentorability. In other words, no one is talking to the mentees. But that changes today. I'm here to share a message with you right here, right now. I'm inspired to inspire you. I want you to transform your next mentoring partnership. We spend our lives in developmental and transformational relationships. Whether they're personal, professional, or spiritual, we are continuously learning and growing from others. But how do we maximize these opportunities when these organic and formal relationships happen? How do we make the most out of the experience? Mentorability is the willingness to understand that we grow from others as others grow from us. And that starts by understanding our commitment, reciprocity, and vulnerability. So first, be committed. Don't just show up. Be present both physically and mentally, time after time. We spend so much time today in the digital space, and that's okay. If you are engaging with your mentor in whether it's social media, text messaging, or email, there's nothing wrong with that. But be prompt in your response and be proactive in how you engage in that partnership. And when that face-to-face occurs, because it inevitably will, make it memorable. Start by asking, what do I hope to gain from these few minutes of time with a more experienced individual? Why am I investing the time? I mean, this person is making time for me. Your mentor is making time for you. When I think about the students I have honestly had the honor of mentoring, the ones that spend the time, the ones that are committed, the ones that take the initiative, those are the ones I still engage with frequently. We all live very busy lives, but what you can do is you can stay accountable, you can be committed, you can do your part. Commitment is the first step in assessing your own mentorability. Second, we are all a sum of our experiences. It is our experiences that shape who we are in this moment of time. When we enter into a mentor-mentee relationship, you must understand that that relationship is two-directional, meaning it's not the traditional one-way directional relationship we thought it to be. Your life experiences and what you bring to the partnership can truly help it be an exchange, a partnership, where both of you are learning from the experience. When I think about mentorability and specifically reciprocity, I think of April. April was a graduate student of mine who I mentored and supervised for about 1.5 years. She came to my office and she sat down and we talked about life. We talked about relationships. We talked about her academics and what the next career step was for her. But we also talked about supervision and her leadership style. Each time she talked, I often thought about the situation she left. I reflected on that particular advice I gave her. Would I have handled it that way? Could I have done something differently? She brought a new perspective to my own leadership and my own supervision. I'm a better mentor, leader, and person because of her and the mentees I have had the privilege of working with and the reciprocity they brought to my partnership. And finally, vulnerability. It is very hard to change something about who we are, much less change because somebody is advising or suggesting us to. Think back to the last time you consciously made an effort to change something about yourself. It's hard. As humans, we don't like to feel like we are not in control of our own lives. But mentors can provide a new perspective, a new way of how to handle life that can positively shape our world. But I understand and I know change can be hard. I mean, you as my mentor want me to change, but I've always done it this way, and you want me to do it differently? I have had an honor talking about mentorability at various conferences, and I've asked practitioners, scholars, and students one question at the end of the presentations. And the question is, what is the one attribute, the one characteristic that mentees can bring to the mentoring partnership that can make it thrive? Each time, in multiple settings, 100 miles apart, every group has said being open-minded, being vulnerable, being willing to change, being transparent. I would argue being vulnerable and open-minded are the two biggest contributing factors to how mentorable we are. So next time you enter into a developmental relationship, or you re-examine the one you're in right now, think about these questions. Are you committed and willing to make time for the partnership? Do you understand the reciprocity you bring to the relationship? And are you truly willing to be open-minded and vulnerable to change? Today and moving forward, let's reimagine our willingness and commitment as a mentee. Let that commitment, reciprocity, and vulnerability shape and inspire your next developmental relationship. Mentorability is not a new phenomenon, but how we re-examine our own selves as a mentee to enter into the partnership can positively shape it to be better, actually make it thrive. So don't enter into the mentoring partnership, but actively live your own mentorability. Thank you.
All right, guys. So the reason we want you to spend some time thinking about mentorability is because in an experiential learning setting, we can't constantly wonder why mentees aren't calling us back. And we did so poorly in the fall, even though we've got a lot of other variables at play, like the pandemic, etc. If we're not willing to think about how are we as mentees being in this program, right? If we can't look at what some of the issues are for mentees, it becomes a thing that someone else is doing as opposed to something that we can shift. And we are all about shifting it instead of blaming it. So if we want things to be different, we've got to do things differently. We've got to become better mentees ourselves and more open with our willingness to take part in this, to inspire other mentees. That's why the mentees that are here who are now mentors, it's because they either had a really awful experience with their own mentor and are like, I would never want to put somebody through what I did. You don't even know. My poor mentor, bless their heart. That's how they come up to me. Bless their heart. I didn't even want to drop the program because I thought they'd be lost without me. We got that. I was like, oh Lord, I don't hear that. Or they're like, my mentor changed my life. Preach it. Right? My mentor is the bomb, the greatest, the whatever. They bring out all these superlatives. So we don't have the. And even the people who just want a job on campus, there's much easier job than this on campus. Just go pick up the phone, sit there, repeat a phone call 3 hours straight until your brain starts to ooze. But you're in and out. This is complicated. So most of the people here is because you really want to do it. So we want to get to the bottom so we can make you better mentors. So what about this back table? What came out of your conversation? I would like to share some brilliant insight.
I'll share. I would say one of the things that we talked about was how, having a mentor that believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself.
Having a mentor who believes in you, you didn't believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing we discussed was also about, the expectations of being open-minded.
Being open-minded, yeah, expectations. So, and maybe I'm overstepping here, but I hope you're my people. There's nothing more annoying than someone who gives you a toxic pep talk that you don't want to hear. When they're like giving you, like, you're like, listen, my life's a mess. Come on, you can do it, just try. You know what, I'm gonna punch you right in the pie hole in a minute, right? Because you don't want to hear that, you know it. If you could do it, you could pick yourself up off the floor, you do it yourself, right? But when someone takes the time to see you, to know you, to tell you like, look, I know you're struggling right now, but I know that you can do this, right? And it's coming from their soul, like you can hear. You're like, all right, maybe I can, you know what, I'm gonna crawl, but I'm gonna keep moving, right? So that's the difference. Don't just say the words, you gotta be in it, right? So I want to close this out. Thank you for sharing. This is something I want you to remember. When we boil down everything with impact, a mentor is someone who, through their words and actions, helps someone achieve their potential. Okay? Now they're not gonna get in their potential and be like, hello, I'm here. I've achieved my potential. Thank you. I'm done. It's a wrap. We're on a continuum, right? So you know where your horizon is. And what we want to know is, are you closer there than when you started with us? Or maybe you turn left because something happened and now you're going to that horizon. That's cool too, but you know where you're headed, and your person that you're working with or this program is helping you move forward to further make progress to where you say you want to go. That's what mentoring is. It's not for us to say, we need you to turn south because this is where we're going. At least in our program and stuff. They're driving the car and you're helping them get there. Okay. All right. So we did talk about that. Just want to know my backgrounds. Really quick. This is going to be a follow-up on Google Classroom for you. So I just want to go over our major goals so that you know. All right. Things you need to know about what you're going to be trained to do over the next 6 days. You have 5 primary roles in impact. Some of you will be more comfortable with some roles, some of you will be better in some roles, but all of us need to be competent in all roles. You are going to be a role model and a brand ambassador. That means, as I said at the very beginning of the day, your impact. It doesn't matter to me if you're out in a nursing program, if you're an SGA, if you're wherever you are on campus, what's your impact, your impact. You're representing us, and anyone you meet is going to know that you're part of this program. So you got to conduct yourself as a brand ambassador. We want you to be a campus influencer. So what you do leads the way for others to do that too. So that means figuring out how to balance being involved in campus in the right amount that works for you, being a successful student, because being in every club in the world and getting a 0.01 GPA is not okay. You could be the friendliest, best leader in the world, but you've got to graduate. Okay. Also, pretending that you're the most positive together person in the world when your life is a shambles and never asking for help. It's also not okay, because we don't want people to feel stigmatized because they need some support and help. So you have to be willing to be like, I might have an issue. Right? It's coming. It's closer than it was yesterday. I will need to take some time.
The mics too.
The mic too. Right? So we've got to act as it. We've got to model the behavior. We've got to influence our peers in your classes. So I'm hoping, now I'm going to pick on Mohammed. I'm hoping that Mohammed, who is very quiet and polite by nature, except when he's with his friends, then he's the loud social butterfly. But I'm hoping when he's in class, he's not sitting in the back corner saying nothing, praying he doesn't get called on. He's going to be like, I'm an impact. I can do this. There's no impediment I have to raising my hand every now and then. I have a thought in my head. I think I'll say it out loud in the class. And as you move in your scholastic endeavors, don't be afraid to speak up and share your opinion, because you're a mentor now. Okay? We're expecting you to be able to do that. So you got to pick your moments. Okay? We also are expecting you to be a community builder. That means bringing people together. We're never going to out you. as whatever you are. That's why some of the things I put, I asked you about. So for example, I know there are other student parents in the room, but I'm not gonna assume that you want everybody up in your business. So if I know that a student parent as a mentee and is really struggling with that particular challenge of having kids and being a student and making it work, and she teaches like, hey, if you need someone to talk to them, I'm down. They call me. I know she's my girl, okay? Some of you may have other demographical information. You might say, we've had people in the past say, look, you know, I'm in the assist program. I'd be perfectly happy if someone needs this or that, or I'm a tutor also in a different part of my life. I'm happy to work with people who need this, that. You tell us, and then we will make you available. We're never going to put you out there as a token for any particular thing in the world. The one thing I will ask though, and I know Fatuma and I haven't talked about it, but there is a specific strategic initiative about using alumni strategically as retention tools. So if you currently don't go to BNCC, we will probably have to hit you up to be ambassadors for your college and the transfer process to your college. So we've already been asked for like our Columbia people, our NYU people, our Baruch people, our Lehman people, Brooklyn, York, wherever you are. The college wants to plug you back in to say, hey, can you share your experience about what it was like to get from here to there? Does it start here? Right? Okay. We also want you to be not just a connector, but an ally and advocate. Some people live their lives in the shadows. And they're not ready to step out of the shadows, or they're not brave enough to step to the shadows. They need a voice. They need somebody who has privilege to speak for them or to share their concerns, but keep them protected. That's what being an advocate in an ally is I don't have to be the same as you to be someone who can lend you my strength and my voice. So we want to have you be more mindful of that. We're also going to have you be a campus resource person. So for most of the day tomorrow, it's going to be a marathon of different people talking to you about specific units of the college. I'm expecting you not to know everything as Jeff said, but you need to be attentive because you need to know what these resources are. We are streamlining as much as we can, and we will continue adding resources on our Friday meetings to add more into your arsenal of help, but you're the ones who need to know where to send people when they need help and what help there is available and who to see about that kind of help. So we need you to be attentive as people come in and be the gatekeeper that you are not the problem solver, you are the referral person. You are not the counselor, you want to connect them to the counseling center. You are not the immigration attorney, you're going to connect them to ARC or whatever it is, okay? So we're going to give you other stakeholder offices at the college so that you know who does what about the most, the ones we see the most frequently, okay? We also want you to be aware that you are going to be a student success coach. That doesn't mean you're a tutor, and you really shouldn't act as a tutor because tutors have to be certified by the OMC. However, most students don't do well for other factors that have nothing to do with their academic ability. It has to do with time management, or it has to do with energy management, setting priorities, action planning, follow through. So you coaching around the behaviors that enhance and support success, the mindset to orient and to feel empowered to be the one that can construct your own success, that's the work you're going to be doing, okay? So we want you to understand that you're not going to be a tutor, you're not going to be a friend. You may like some of your mentees, you may find them difficult to deal with. You still are their mentor. Not every mentoring experience is buddy-buddy, lifelong friends, ride or die. But that doesn't excuse you from communicating care and support and doing your 5 roles with them, connecting them to other people, doing whatever we said. And I want to sort of wrap this up by letting you know, I did pass out those handouts for you. We're going to post that on the discussion board because I want to give you the break in 2 minutes, but I am going to ask you to take those with you so that you're familiar with where we're going with this and in your own experience, what's been meaningful to you or made a difference for you, but we do want to see you reflect on that, okay? This is a job. You have a responsibility to respect your mentees' details and to keep them confidential. Please do not be confused on that point. We are bound by something called the Federal Educational Right to Privacy Act. You, as paid employees of the college or the foundation, are obligated to protect student confidential information and not disclose it to others, to not be talking about their particular situations. So that's why we do tracking logs. So as you step into this new role, I want you to take it seriously and honorably so that you understand you may be the lifeline for somebody else, and we have legal obligations and liability obligations so that we know how to report these things. That's the role that Tuna and I play. Okay, so when you're looking down that you're worried, we're gonna act, we're gonna intervene, we're gonna put supports around that person, or whatever you're feeling, we're gonna talk about logs in the future, but we want you to understand that all of these roles, they're constantly going to be going on, and we want you to embody what those are, okay? For those of you that are alumni, I'm gonna close by just saying, you may notice, even though there's a bunch of people online, and there's some people on the leadership team, there's a bunch of alumni that are not with the program beginning this semester. And it has nothing to do with whether it's women and I like them. But we take our job very seriously. And at the point where people just like what they get out of the program, but have stopped giving back constructively to the program, as contributing members of the BNCC community, you gotta be in this community and part of it and wanting to be here. That's when we have to give the spot away to someone new who's waiting to be hired. So the alumni are here, and those that are coming and will be in and out for classes and everything else, they're here because they still have their hearts all in this program. It's made a difference to them, and they want to be part of it. So just because they're connected in a different way than college, you can still count on them for this, okay? So thanks for listening. I'm going to give you that 10-minute break now. Take a stretch break. Christina Wazak is here, is presenter from OSA. So we're going to focus on you as leaders and getting some energy up when we get back. And that's it for my presentation. So take a little break and we'll come again with Christina, because now she has a second person in division. So we haven't seen you in a year because there was you and Harry and that was the whole show. Yeah. So now we're blessed to have someone from OSA and we're gonna have Issa come as well. So Christina is gonna start doing what Christina does best, which is leadership, topics in leadership. Getting you excited, speaking to that motivation and enthusiasm, helping our awareness. So give her your time and attention and your best efforts. And I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Oh. The light is great. That means it's working. Hi, everybody. I'm Christina Wazak. I am very happy to be here. I gotta tell you, since the pandemic started, this is my largest group that I've worked with so far. So on one hand, it's like, I'm happy to be back with, I mean, this is about how many are there here?
We have,
Including the Zoom room.
yeah, I'm gonna say we have 50 altogether right now.
Okay, yeah. So I think that I've had like 5. That's in person. Virtually, I could probably say like 100, and then before the pandemic, it was 1,000. But here it's like, this is the biggest group I've had in a long time. So I'm very happy to be here with you. But also, it's the group that you are. You know, who am I here with? Impact. Yeah. Yes. Impact. Yeah. So it's always great to interact with you all, to learn about you all. And so that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna be learning about leadership, we're gonna be learning about each other, learn about me, I'll learn about you. That's one of my favorite things to do. How's that sound?
Good.
Okay. Also, I will give you the heads up now. I am not a lecturer. I don't even call myself a speaker. Some people will be like, you are a speaker, you speak. I'm a workshop facilitator. So I facilitate discussion, I facilitate learning, which means that I'm gonna be moving around the room, you're gonna move at some point, and interaction is what's gonna keep this going. I'm not gonna be like, and now, no, we're gonna talk, okay? You're gonna have groups. So is there anybody who identifies as an I, the introvert? Do you know you're an introvert? Okay. Okay, so just heads up in case small group work or getting up is intimidating. I also am an I. Yes, yes,
You said you please that reference.
an introvert.
Introvert as you.
All right, so we're gonna talk about it. Did you do your 16 personalities assessment yet? All right, there you go. Okay, you just told on yourself. And you asked me what the I was. That's okay. We're gonna learn about that. All right, so if you could just now, so whoever's in Zoom, you could put the word in, and whoever's here, just shout some words out. How do you feel right now? It could be a paragraph. But how do you feel right now? I heard hungry, I heard good, I heard chill. Is anybody in the chat say anything? Sleepy, tired, hungry. Is this like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? All right. Tired, good. Tired and good. Okay. All right. So, oh yes, in the chat. I see you in the chat, and I recognize some of you. Hey. All right. There's a lot of tired around here. Okay. So hopefully you leave here feeling a little more energized. All right. Thanks for sharing that. So this is what we're going to be doing. We're in introductions right now. We're going to review 16 personalities a little bit. We're going to talk about your strengths. We're also going to talk about the importance of knowing other people's strengths. And then we're going to be done. How's that sound? Okay. All right, cool. I'm glad. All right. So first off, introductions. So I'm not sure if you can totally see it, but that's me. I'm Christina. I was born in New York City. I was born in Queens. I've lived in Brooklyn for most of my life. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Activities and Leadership in the Office of Student Activities here at BMCC. But I'm also a workshop facilitator, and this is being recorded, right? So whatever, it's fine. I got hired at BMCC, I think, because people knew me from facilitating workshops. So I love facilitating workshops. So it's like, if I have to sit in front of my computer, or I have to be here with all you, what do you think I'm gonna choose? Yeah. And I like doing workshops too. So yeah. I have a bachelor's degree in television and radio from Brooklyn College. Anybody interested in television, radio, or Brooklyn College? Okay. You watch TV. Okay, me too. I have a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology. Has anyone ever heard of that before? Is anyone a psychology major? Okay, one. It's basically the study of groups, organizations, and teams, and the psychology behind them. So why people do certain things when they're in groups, and a lot of stuff that you talk about even outside of psychology. So even some of the stuff that you were talking about earlier. So I've worked in education for, at this point, 20 years. This month marks 20 years that I've been in education of some sort, working. I'm also like, my non-professional stuff, I'm a nature lover. I have 21 plants. I'm currently studying chakras, if you've heard of what that is, crystals, and sound healing. And movement is important to me. So whether it's stretching or it's dancing or it's working out, and I'm a big music and sports fan. So depending on what kind, go back. I'll say, we're not going to that point yet. Okay. All right, so we're here to talk about 16 personalities and how it relates to leadership. How many of you have ever heard of 16 personalities? Show of hands, and in the chat, you can say me. Okay. All right, cool, so most of you. Okay. So 16 personalities is an assessment. It gives you more information about yourself. It doesn't mean this is me for the rest of my life. Because the first letter is E or I, which is extrovert or introvert. I used to be an extrovert. I've gone introvert. And also I have another letter that changed. So things can change. It also can depend on when you took it. Maybe you were in an introverted mood. You know, I don't want to talk to anybody right now. I just want to be by myself. And that's how you answered it. Or, you know, you were ready for a party, ready to be out with people, and that's when you answered it. So I just want you to keep that in mind, that it's to learn more about yourself, but also what we're gonna do here is learn about other people as well. So if you could actually go to the website, the 16 personalities, please. Thank you. Cool, okay. All right, thank you. So we have, if you could click on the advocate, please, we'll go, that's the only one we'll click on. Everybody else will keep. So this is mine. I'm an INFJ. Did anybody else get INFJ? Okay, all right, cool. So when you do it, I also want to point something out. Under, if you see, under the INFJA, INFJT, it's like, what's the A, what's the T? If you click, yeah, you got it, Jeff. If you click on that, it explains what that is. Because I had never heard about that before until we got to 16 personalities. So I recommend looking at that as well. Now, if you can go back, thank you. So how many of you have done, like, have gone through and looked through your personality type? Okay, a lot of you. All right, cool. That's helpful. All right, and Jeff, if you can go back. No, go back to the, yeah, there you go. Thank you. And I think I saw a hand, did I see a hand raise? Maybe just to say that I have J. Okay. So. That is so neat, by the way, the mediator, that's exactly what I am. So we got diplomats, INFJ, INFP, ENFJ, ENFP. So, that's like one group of them. And then if you go to the next tab. Thank you. Okay. So then you got analysts, you got the architect. So INTJ, INTP, ENTJ, ENTP. And then if you go to the next one. And I'm gonna ask everybody, and if you don't know, it's okay, but I am gonna ask everybody in a little bit, you know, which one you were. So you got ISTJ, ISFJ, ESTJ, ESFJ. Those are the sentinels. And then the last tab, the explorers, the virtuoso, the adventurer, the entrepreneur, the entertainer. So that's ISTP, ISFP, ESTP, ESFP. That's a whole lot of letters, right? We're gonna learn more about why. Why are we talking about this today? So Jeff, if you can go back to the presentation, thank you. Yes, and then we'll go to the if you go, yeah, in the bottom, there's like 2 arrows. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Cool. All right, thank you. So, does anybody want to take the microphone and read the definition of self-awareness? I saw your hand first. And please introduce yourself as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Paulo. Self-awareness. Conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. So knowing your strengths, likes, dislikes, interests, skills, triggers, areas to work on. Yeah.
Knowing how you can impact others. Actually, thank you. Let's give a round of applause for setting up to get the microphone. Okay, all right, cool. So, what do you think about self-awareness? Why am I talking about 16 personalities and now all of a sudden I went to the self-awareness? How do those two, why? How do those two match up? Is that it? Yeah. Now, do you feel comfortable with the microphone? All right, cool. And introducing yourself as well. Thank you.
My name is Monty Gray.
Whatever you want. whatever you want to talk about, you got the microphone. No, I'm like, just, let's stay on track. Why are we talking about self-awareness and 16 personalities? Like, how did I go from one thing to the next?
Because it was brought up before about, know thyself. So if you know and are self-aware about your character, feelings, and motives, you will know your strengths, weaknesses of your personality and how you react to certain things. And that could, cause sign to everything that you're doing, especially at impact.
Right. Yes.
Someone's tired. That's when you're like, oh, it's so running.
If I was her, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So the more you know about yourself, the easier life can be, because you also know what you need. Like, let's say in a work environment or on a team. Like, I know, oh, you need somebody to do this? I'm here. You got me. Or you need somebody to do that? You probably want somebody else to do it. I mean, I can do it, but somebody else probably do better. Also, like setting boundaries and self-care, those are important things. So the more you know about yourself, the more you know about the boundary you need. Like, I need boundaries. Some people don't need as many boundaries as I do, but I know that, and I'll also communicate it. Also, when it comes to self-care, I know there's certain things that work for me, that don't work for other people. So, have you heard of self-awareness, or show of hands, like the term self-awareness? Okay, cool. I also like to gauge what you know about this. So then next up, thank you. We got some ways to increase your self-awareness. Because if self-awareness is so important, then you gotta work on it. And it's never ending, because sometimes you like something and then you don't like it anymore. Or like, it's like as you mature, as you experience different things, you run into different things. So who wants to read the first arrow? Thanks. So that first one.
Hello everyone, my name is Joaquin. The fourth bullet point said journal, the second bullet point said meditation. The third bullet point said vision board, and the last one says read articles and books.
Thank you. Let's give you a round of applause. For stepping up and doing that. All right, anybody here in that first hour, do you do any of those things? You can shout, yeah. Do you feel like sharing? Which ones? Okay.
All of them.
Oh, all of them. Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Vision board?
Vision board. Okay. Do you feel comfortable sharing what a vision board is? Are you comfortable with the microphone? All right, cool.
Alicia, so vision boards are basically things that you want to achieve, or like you have a vision that you want to see that in your life. So basically what I do is like I make Pinterest boards, and I also have like a goal that I want to things that I want to do. For example, like one semester I had a vision that I would get like straight A's. It keeps you in check to like really see where you want to go.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Yes, you know the deal. Round of applause. Okay, is there anyone who wants to read the second arrow? I'm coming back there. You know the deal. Microphone, and please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Cindy. Have supportive people in your corner, friends, family, mentors, colleagues, partners. Be mindful of what energy you expose yourself to through media and social media.
Thank you very much. Round of applause. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for reading those. Okay, so having supportive people in your corner. Now, when I say supportive, I don't mean yes people. And what yes people are, I was like, oh yeah. I don't know if anybody's ever watched Modern Family.
I love this.
Yeah, so do I. So I feel like Gloria is always like, oh Mary, you can do anything you want. Everything is correct. You look good all the time. You want to hear the real deal. But it's constructive criticism in a loving way. So people who are gonna tell you what the real deal is, because that helps you with your self-awareness, that helps you to learn about yourself. If there are people who are gonna tell you something to put, because they wanna put you down, those are not supportive people. Like, yeah, I'm gonna tell you, you know, that jacket is ugly, like, oh, you're gonna ask me my opinion, and I get to tell you, you know. I don't mean that. And sometimes it's not family and friends. Sometimes it's somebody like in a group like this, or sometimes it's a staff member you meet at the MCC, you know, so there's no specific person or group that it's gonna come from. And the other part, as far as media and social media, is there anybody that can relate to that and knows why I have that up there? Do you feel like sharing? You okay with that? Yeah, all right. Yes, please. Say that beautiful name.
I'm Tatisha, and, yes, social media can definitely drain the soul out of you, even media, just like very sad news or just disturbing news, and it really takes a toll out of you, even if you don't want it to, it somehow unconsciously does.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, I swear.
Thank you. I'm gonna give you a round of applause for that one. And feel free, anybody who's in the Zoom, feel free to answer in the chat as well, and let us know, you know, any of the answers to those questions. Yeah, so sometimes people you follow on social media or stories you hear on, you know, in the media, it can actually make you think differently about yourself. And so that is something that I try to be mindful of, is like, who am I following and how do they make me feel? Sometimes it's just, you need information. So, you know, it's like, yeah, something happened and it's sad and it's on the news, but it's like, I know what's happening. But then sometimes there are accounts like, oh, I just unfollowed something. I don't know what it was now. And I just felt like, it was a magazine. I just felt like all the news stories were trash. Like, it was like, this person's dating this person, and like, this person's mad about, you know, this one's like butt surgery. And I was like, why do we need to know about this? Like, why is this even news? Like, who cares? So I unfollowed it. Is that your hand? Oh, you were just stretching. All right, good stretch. Yeah, so that's something, like, social media and media are good because they keep you informed and they connect you, but also they could be negative. It can make you think things about yourself that are not true, and make you treat people in a way that is not healthy. All right, last arrow. Anybody want to read the last arrow? Three.
Yeah, I.
Please.
All right, Ryan here. All right, so counselor, therapist, and or coach. Assessments such as MBTI, 16 personalities, True Colors, Strengths Finder, BuzzFeed, the 5 love languages.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, all right, so there's something that I want to tell you about a microphone. And we'll talk about that last hour. There's something I learned, I don't know where I learned it, but I was doing a workshop and somebody said, there could be people in the room who you think can hear you, but they have trouble hearing and they're not gonna point at, they're not gonna be like, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I have like partial hearing loss. Like, they're not gonna do that. Or they might usually wear hearing aids and, you know, so they don't have them in, or whatever the case is. So whoever I was, the person taught me, you know, like, always use a microphone, even if you can project. Like, I could project. Like, I could probably be okay in this room, but that's something, like, when there's a microphone present, I'm like, all right, let me use the microphone. Plus, also, we have Zoom people in the Zoom, so I want to make sure they can hear. So yeah, so that last one. Does anybody still do BuzzFeed quizzes? Do you still do them? No. Okay. Well,
They exist.
do they exist anymore? Wait, okay, you know what it is? It's like, what kind of piece of cake are you?
Right.
Like that kind of stuff?
Or like the Facebook quizzes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it transferred to
It
Facebook.
did. Yeah, yeah, I've had that in there for a little while. So, yeah, so those kind of quizzes. It's silly, or like in the office, we did the office personality quiz, which was like silly, just so to show the office. But then we ended up having a conversation about it, like, oh, why are you Stanley? Oh, I could see that. Da, da, da. If you watch The Office, that was one of them. At 16 personalities on our list, and we heard doing this. Has anybody heard of the 5 love languages? Okay, so thank you. So the 5 love languages, usually people talk about that when it's like a romantic partner. You know, like, oh, let's see, you know, what your love language is. But we actually did that in our office too, because it's helping things about, I actually just talked about this in a workshop. It's helping things about yourself and about others. So it's like, it could be like, I'm a gift giver, but I could be. But it's like gift giving is my lowest love languages, where quality time is my highest. So that's why I like to spend time with people, although I'm an introvert, so I need my boundaries. So see, those are all the things that I've learned about myself, both doing all these things and also just living and seeing how I do things. So you can do those for yourself. Again, not all these things, like don't see it as a label, like this is me for the rest of my life. No, I learned something about myself. Okay, so those are some of them that you could do. Even the silly ones help you to learn a little bit more about yourself. Okay. Now, I think, no, we're gonna go back one. Cool, and thank you. We're gonna go to the 16 personalities website. All right. Yes. Thank you. Okay. So now, we've had some conversations, but you've been sitting. Now, if there's anyone who, for any specific reason, you're like, no, I gotta stay seated in this chair, no problem. What I would like to do is have you break up into groups based on your personality type. Okay. So I saw the 2 of you first, so I'll go Shatisha and then remind me your name? Amani. Okay, all right, cool. So please introduce yourself and tell us what is so great about you?
Oh.
In a good way. Like, what are your strengths?
You wanted me to talk about why something's on want to figure it out.
No, what are your 2 strengths? I
So-
want you to practice talking about yourself.
Hello, I'm Shatisha. And my 2 strengths are I'm great at motivating groups of people, and I'm a great singer.
Okay, now we're gonna give you a microphone. How do you feel about standing up in front of the room and telling everybody that?
I feel comfortable about that. I don't know why she didn't get to that.
What was that?
I actually forgot what the next person said.
Oh, all right, cool. Was there anybody, while you think about it, was there anybody else that thought about it for a little bit, who feels comfortable sharing? Okay, all right, cool. So you'll go after them.
All right, hello, everybody again. My name is Amani. I said my 2 strengths were giving great advice and always having hustle in my DNA.
The reason why I picked the people who had to think for a little bit and then I had you come up is I do, like I said earlier, I do want people to get into the practice of sharing. There's a program, has anybody done GEM before, the leadership program? Okay, so the first question, I think I started off with brag about yourself. Because oftentimes talking about yourself is like, no, be humble, and it's like, there's a way of sharing who you are and saying what you're good at without being too conceited or obnoxious. Did you just say obnoxious? Somebody say that? Oh, okay, well. Yeah. So I feel like often this world is like, no, don't share. And stand in front of people and say it? Oh no. And then let's not talk about when we get into race and gender. It's even more. For certain races and genders, you talk about intersectionality, it's like you definitely don't want to hear what you gotta say. So if I'm in a room, I wanna give you the microphone and I want you to tell us about yourself. So going to the group that I'll have two people. And you did have your hand raised, so we'll come back to you now. Two people who you knew right off the bat what your two strengths were. So I have one already. Anybody else? Is that a hand? Yeah. Okay, all right, cool. So yes, and how comfortable do you feel standing in front of the room?
Okay, so my strengths are like, number one is I'm a good listener. I always try to listen first, then speak. And the second is like time management. You know, I always do my things on my time, you know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, what is it? But if you have to think about it or not, don't forget to put it in the chat.
Okay, my name is Cindy. So I'm good at listening to people. Because most of the time people feel very comfortable talking to me and they let me know that. Because I'm not only, like you said earlier, listening at what they are expressing, but I'm good at guessing as well. And not guessing and then jump in, but guessing and make a way for them to meet me and then sharing actually what is going on. And I think also that I'm also great at public speaking and I like it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I see in the chat, I am reading it, just so you know, that what you're putting in the chat is being noticed. It can also mean being proud of yourself. Yeah, yes. Every one of you in here, if you're not already, I hope that you can achieve a time when you are proud of yourself. And you know, it could be, I got out of bed this morning and came to this training. And I'm proud of myself for doing that. Or it could be something that for you is on a grander scale. You know, one of the things that I've been trying to pay more attention to is like on social media, when people post about birthdays or like, hey, I got a new haircut. It's like, oh, great, you know, just celebrating things more, you know, for myself, but also for other people. So, okay. So we'll go, if you could take the chat down and then go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay. Does anybody want to read this, please, with the microphone? Anybody who hasn't spoken yet on the microphone?
He was raised.
Okay. Oh, okay, cool. Okay. Thank you. Someone with an earring? Oh, okay.
Hey everybody, my name is Vin. And in order to lead people, you have to get in on them.
Yes. Thank you very much. Okay. I don't even need to tell them anymore. It's great. I don't have to ask for it. Yes, in order to lead people, you have to get to know them. Derek Jeter, anybody a Yankees fan? Okay, all right, cool. A couple people. Anybody a baseball fan? Okay, all right. Is there anybody who knows who Derek Jeter is?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Not everyone. Not everyone's into baseball. Also, you know, you might not be into sports, and maybe you just, you know, you've never heard of these people. It's fine. But so Derek Jeter, a major figure in Major League Baseball. So in order to lead people, you have to get to know them. This is what we're gonna do. First, I like using quotes a lot. So I have this one here. Feel free to take a picture. I'll post it on my social media later. You can share it if you want. So now, if you are the kind of leader who feels that it's important to get to know the people you're leading, these are some basic ways of getting to know people. Say I want, and some of them are gonna be the same as what you did, getting to know yourself. Say I wanna read the first one. Okay, yeah, exactly. Ask them, it's easy. So is anybody, I'm a question asker. Is anybody here someone who will ask questions, like, how you doing? Yeah, like you ask questions? Is it like, how are you doing? Like, oh, what's going on? Oh, how was that TV show you were watching? Oh, how are you feeling today? Oh, like why? Okay, got it. Got it. Yeah, I do that too. My sister will joke about like, here you go, we're gonna asking questions. And I'm like, that's how I learn about people. It's like asking them. Also, we have the personality assessments, which we said as far as getting to know yourself, self-awareness. So they're there as well. So you have ones like 16 personalities where it really does help, or MBTI, strengths, where you bring somebody in to process it. Now, for the self-awareness and for getting to know other people, the Center for Career Development here at BMCC does MBTI and strong interest inventory. And so you can set up, if you haven't done it before, you can set up an appointment with them and process the results. So also, again, the 5 love languages, these are things, if you have a group, you could be like, hey, and most of these are free. MBTI, if you Google that, like let's say MBTI, the Avengers, they will have the results. So MBTI is like 16 personalities. It'll be like INTJ, ESFJ, or whatever. And it'll tell you like, you're like the Incredible Hulk. Or there'll be one as Harry Potter and you're like, whatever character, or The Office. So you can have some fun with that with the people you're with. And it helps you, and then you have a discussion about it. Like, I don't think I'm so-and-so. Well, why do you think you got that? Well, maybe so there's a discussion. Also, you can do group trips and outings. How many of you guys, show of hands, you're the person that like, you'll go to lunch with someone, if you're old enough, you'll go for drinks, you'll go for coffee or tea, show of hands. Anybody like to do that? To like get to know people. Okay. So for those of you that didn't raise your hand, what kind of stuff, like how do you get to know people? Anybody want to share? Okay, we'll go here. Was that it? No. Just trying to be mindful of who didn't speak yet. Okay, go ahead.
I feel like for me, in order for me to get to know someone, they'll have to want to get to know me. So we have to get like equal. They have to get equal basis. Because I feel like if we actually got just to get to know me, then I'm not gonna have no purpose in getting to know them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and so it's possible. So, like for me, so it says team projects. I like to work on committees because that's how I get to know people. Because I'm not gonna be like, hey, let's go for lunch. Like, I don't do that often. Sometimes I do, but it's like 5% of the time. I would rather eat my lunch and not talk to people. Like I want to be like off on my own. Okay, introvert, boundaries. But if we work on a project together, I really get to know about you because it might be like, oh, my dog this, or my daughter that, my son, or my friend this. So sometimes that stuff comes out. Also, I know you're good at Excel, or you're good at speaking, or you're good at, hyping everybody up. So that's how I learn things about you. So that's how I do it. And it's important to learn that about yourself because going back to what Denise and I were talking about, like, if you know she's a people person, and I would prefer to work with the people, but I also like, if we're on a team and Denise is gonna work with the people, then I'll take care of getting the calendar done. Because I know the people part is covered. I don't have to do that because Denise got it 100 times over. So I don't have to worry about it. So the more you learn about people and you know that, you know what role you're gonna play. Don't always play the same role as a leader. Sometimes as a leader, you're not standing up here with a microphone. You're in the corner dealing with my canvas slides. That needed to be taken care of. Thank you for that. Also celebrations.
How many of you are the person who it's like, you know when everybody's birthday is, like in your family, or your friends, or at work, or show of hands? Okay. All right, so. Depending on the office I work in, I'm that person, and sometimes I'm not that person. Sometimes I don't have to be the person, somebody else is taking care of it. Currently, I'm the person. So, but also that comes with a responsibility where it's like, well, if I don't do it, no one's gonna do it. So I gotta do it. But then also, I gotta learn. So this kind of goes to love languages too. Do the staff in my office want that? So we have a staff member who is like, I don't want a big deal about my birthday. So we place a card on that person's desk for that birthday. And then other people, there's balloons behind the chair, and, you know, so it's like you learn different things about people. And some people it's like, don't even, like, please do nothing. So they get a text, you know? So, and it's complicated. Leadership is complicated. Because if you are getting to know people, I can't be led in the same way that one of you is led. Because I have my preferences, I have my boundaries. And so like, some people like to be micromanaged. Tell me everything, when it needs to be done, and how I'm gonna do it. Don't do that for me. Because if you can do all that, you might as well do it yourself. That's how I feel. But some people like that. Iron it out for me. Give me the deadlines, and then when the deadline comes, check in on me, make sure I did it. Me? I don't always get it by the deadline, but it depends on the project. But so that's what you gotta learn about people. Because it's like, if you lead everybody in the same way, somebody's gonna have a problem with you. And all you needed to do was find out that, oh, they like to be led a certain way. But that means you gotta be flexible as a leader, which is not easy. Because leading in itself, especially like if you're overseeing the tasks of a project, that's work. Now I gotta get to know people too. How am I gonna do all this on top of all the work I do? So it is not easy. And not everybody steps into roles like this. We don't have the entire BMCC community students sitting here right now. Would you want that? Would you want all BMCC? Oh. So, also as a leader, getting to know people, getting to know yourself. We've been talking about strengths this whole time. Now there are things we need to work on. If you follow certain people on social media or you watch the news, there are certain leaders who I look at and I'm like, they need to do something about that. I think that person would be a better leader if they step down. Now, if they, in some cases, if they worked on, but that's my opinion, if they worked on this thing. And so part of leadership is also looking at yourself, and that's part of self-awareness. You know, so in the very beginning, when we talk about self-awareness, one of the things to know about yourself is what areas you need to work on. And so with 16 personalities, there was also like a one-sheeter with different questions as far as like your strengths and weaknesses. So I encourage you to take time, not now, but in the future, if you haven't already, to look at what things you need to work on in order to be a better leader. And then ideally you do it while you're a student here at BMCC, or while you're here, you have resources at BMCC, because you have Center for Career Development, you have the Counseling Center, you have athletics and recreation. I mean, this BMCC has so many things. So, so you have access to free services that can help you to work on those things. You have clubs and, you know, different, I mean, you're in leadership roles now, but if there are other things you want to work on, you can look on the BMCC website for the co-curricular transcript and see what workshops, like this Money Works. I never had that when I was in college, but if you attend those Money Works workshops, you get CCT credit, but possibly even more importantly,
you know, this is being recorded, but you get that knowledge about money. It's like credit cards and just different things and identity theft. So that might be something you're like, yeah, you know, I'm pretty good at leadership, but like, I'm not good if it comes to money. Like, you don't want me to be the money person. You might be able to work on that. I mean, there are things I've worked on that ended up becoming a strength, but I don't need to use it all the time. So like at one point I had a job and I did a lot of things. One of them was the website and social media. I was like building a website. I never did that before. And so I took it home. It was on the it with what we use, but I did it at home instead of being in the office because I kept getting interrupted and I need to focus. And I learned how to do it, and I was actually pretty good at it. And then I started thinking like, oh, I started looking into like digital marketing, and you know, it actually brought up an interest of mine. So you never know what can happen. So have you ever thought, show of hands, have you ever thought about areas that you want to work on? Cool. The next question is, when you thought about those areas, have you ever actually worked on them? Show of hands. Okay. All right. So, is that a hand?
No, I was just gonna, when you're done with your thought, I wanted to ask.
Oh, go ahead.
So, you know, many of you say that you want to be a mentor because
You want to help people. Like that's the common denominator. The two and I have to figure out, how are you going to behave when the help you are given is not perceived by the other person as being helpful, or not acknowledged with gratitude to you as the helper, as being appreciated by the person you were trying to help. So I ask you these deep questions because some people, because they want to help and don't know themselves, what they don't see is the reason that they need to help is to sort of make themselves feel good about themselves. And their sense of self-worth is all about seeing in that other person's face that I did good. So they don't really want to help people. They want someone else to make them feel good about themselves, right? And there's many, many things like this. That's why for me, it's so important that we introduce you to something like 60 personalities. We could do, Christina and I, between the two of us, we have almost every single one of these. Like you've got your colors and I've got it. Yeah. So I mean, we could do these all day long in different ways, but the more knowledge you have about what motivates you deep down, you keep secret, the better you can use these tools to change the world around you and navigate the way you interact with people. So just keep that in mind. Okay?
Thank you. Yeah, so just some of the final remarks. So everything we're talking about, it reminds me of when I was in college, and I say I was not a good leader. Now, there's leadership and then there's good leadership, and you have to define what good leadership is for yourself. I was getting awards and I was getting, you know, I'm president of this club, VP of that club. But for me, it was like, I'm gonna get the work done, and that's why I kept getting elected. They wanted somebody to get the work done. But for me, it was the how. Like when I think back to how I got the work done, I didn't necessarily care about the people. Not that I didn't care. Not that I didn't care, but it was like, all right, we just gotta get this done. It was all about the getting it done and the perfectionism. And it's been a long time since I was in college. And for me, getting it done is not as important. That's why earlier I was like, well, I could have done by the deadline, but it depends on the project. Because you might have, the person giving you the project might have totally unrealistic expectations of me and the staff I'm working with. And it's like, get it done in 5 minutes. And it's like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. And I'm confident enough now to be like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. But I did not lead the way I lead today. Like for me, what I say now is like, my purpose on this planet is to give love. So that's not what I said back when I was 20. I was a television and radio major. I wanted to party, I wanted to be on the air, I wanted to be with the celebrities, And that's what I was getting done. And I wanted to be successful. And for me, success was a title, it was a position. Now, I have no title or position. Like, I mean, I have one, but I have no title or position in mind. I'm not saying for you, that's how you go. We all define success in our own ways. But how do you define success for yourself if you don't know enough about yourself? You know? Yeah. Yeah, so the two main things that I want to make sure you leave today with is to remember it's okay to recognize your strengths. And even to say them. And if you need to brag for a minute, I'm here. If you can actually go to the next slide, it should be the last one. Cool, thank you. So I have my email address. You can email me like, hey, I want to tell you what happened. I actually did not put my office number. I guess it, well, my email address, you can tell me. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. You can follow, I'll follow back. If you want to just say like, hey, I want to tell you what happened. I love that. So that's the first part. The second is the share about yourself, share your accomplishments and your strengths. The second one is development never ends. Working on yourself never ends, which could be annoying sometimes. Like sometimes it's just like, okay, enough. Like I gotta work on this now. So like Alan was saying, like whoever you believe in, or if you're not religious, like it's the universe, but like for me it's God in the universe, and I'll be like, what now? Didn't I just do enough? So there's always something. Sometimes you get a break, but the learning never ends. So please take time to also get to know things that you can work on that can help you as well. To become a better person, which then in turn you become a better leader. And those strengths are important because again, this great example is when you know your strengths and you know other people's strengths, you know how you can work together. I mean, there might be a time when Denise is like, I can't imagine this, but where it's like, I don't want to deal with students. And it's like, I was just there. Oh, so then if I'm there, I'll be like, okay, you know what? I can take care of them until you feel, because you also have a social boundary. I don't know if that's what it was, but yeah, sometimes we need to step back. Like for me as an introvert, I have a routine. I go into the bathroom, I had a sweater on, I changed my sweater, I put this on, and it's like I go into like extrovert mode. When I'm done here, I'm gonna go back in the bathroom and I'm gonna go back into introvert mode. I've been doing that for the longest time, even before I worked at GMCC. So that's something that might be something that you need that you don't do. It's okay to do that. It's okay to set time for yourself. So we did pretty good with time. So I want to end before 5. So here we are. Any final comments or questions that you have? Okay.
I did have to make one comment.
Yes.
I retook 60 personalities, and I just needed you to know, for all of you who think you know me, I'm 72% introvert. Now, when I leave here, I'm going to need to go home and talk to nobody, because literally this is as much energy as I can put out. Right. So what I'm saying is that you would know that about. But Christine, you have your ritual life mind, right? When you know you got to be the one and you got to bring it, there's things you can do to trick yourself and do it. Same thing with the extrovert. If you're like a big happy puppy and you got to focus on the task, it's not to say shame, settle down. No, but you got work you got to do. So you gotta do whatever you gotta do to get in the zone of it, right? So, and that comes from practice and experience, and that's part of your professional development through this, to learn how to pivot with that, okay? So just know that.
And there ain't nothing wrong with being an extrovert, and there ain't nothing wrong with being an introvert. That's one of the things I'll find sometimes people like, oh, these extroverts, or like, oh, these introverts. I'm like, because I call myself an introvert who does extroverted things. So I feel like, so what am I supposed to like not like myself because I'm introvert? Come on. So again, those labels, they're not labeled. Please don't label yourself. The society doesn't enough. please don't do it to yourself. So, I wanna thank you all again. There were no final comments. I think 5 o'clock is your end.
Yeah, we're gonna go over some things. I did want to tell you in case you haven't scheduled things yet. Our meetings for impact. We have 2 sessions every Friday. It's either 9:45 to 11:45 or 3 to 5. And they're required as part of their job to be free and come to us or they lose their job. In the middle of the day, we try to do our mentee meetings because we're trying to send them to you guys for pub out or ASAP or BLA. So we try to get in the middle of the day, we're bringing our mentees. I would love for them to do GEM, but it's always on Fridays, right? So if there's opportunities that maybe we can talk about down the line with Harry about, are there ways we could pivot or lining up bolts and sending whatever? Give that some thought because I hate when you come to me with said puppy face, but I have no idea, I don't want to do GEM. Congratulations, and I really want you to do it. Okay, great, but you won't be a mentor. Because you're committing to our development here, and sometimes you can't do it all, right? So we can do our part to try to schedule what we can, but you can't say yes to everything. So remember that too, is we're not asking you as leaders to be all things to all people. You got to regulate your own schedule. Okay? So sorry, I just figured I'd let you know that because they're going to come to me with all the nominations. You're like, tell your people to join general. But okay,
And the thing is, it's like, there's only so many days in the week.
That's
So
what you
it's like,
think.
If there's stuff on Wednesday and there's stuff on Thursday, then like, well, we're not gonna do gym on Thursday because we already got stuff on, Yeah. Do you have a question?
No, I was just gonna say that's a wonderful point as a leader, and I suffer with that, wanting to, because you can and you want to, but you can't do everything.
Right.
You can't do everything. Gotta keep telling myself that. Yeah.
So we'll see. We're going to try to now that there's a little bit tiny ray of sunshine in your unit. That maybe there's hope we can distribute some workload. We're going to try to partner more with OSA again and sort of collaborate more because we know you guys are mostly thirsty for leadership and engagement and that kind of stuff. So we'll keep it going. Okay?
Thank you all for keeping the energy and for participating.
Thank you for coming.